Hello, everyone. Today I've got a real pleasure welcoming Louisa Joseph from BAME to Board company. So as the name of Louisa's company, we are going to be talking about BAME. I know that's a topic that is of a lot of interest for many of you. I would like to let Louisa introduce herself a little bit more. Who are you and what is your company focus? How can you help others?
Thank you, Anna. Thank you very much for inviting me on your podcast, your interview today. So who am I? My name is Louisa Joseph and I'm the founder of BAME to Boardroom. So BAME to Boardroom started off about this time last year. I'd recently left my corporate position in HR. I was doing a talent management role for one of the largest companies in the UK. And within that role, I'd been within that company for around 17 years, doing a number of roles, starting off in operations management, and then a number of HR roles, including diversity and inclusion manager, employee relations, and finally in talent management. And as part of the role that I did in talent management, as well as managing apprentices and graduates who came into the organisation, I also helped to build the diversity council within this organisation, working specifically with mostly gender agenda, working with, I set up the parents and carers steering group, as well as working with the BAME mentoring circle within the company. So that was very successful, the BAME mentoring circle. And what it allowed us to do is work with a lot of our BAME colleagues at different management levels within the organisation to support them on their growth. So it was a 6-month program, and we did it, myself and another mentor mentored them through this 6-month program. So when I left the organisation, my passion was to help to develop the number of BAME people in UK boardrooms. So it was about working with organisations to develop the BAME talent pipeline within their organisations. I think I got to the point where, having read so many different reports about BAME progression not being where it should be, people feeling frustrated within their roles, feeling that they're being overlooked for promotion and development. And to be honest, I just felt that this is my opportunity to do something to make a difference. So I set up BAME to Boardroom as a coaching company. And I understood what my experiences were as a BAME person, being a person of colour, working within the corporate environment and the challenges that brought along with it. But what I wasn't sure about was whether that was the same experience for many others. So I started doing these podcasts, and it was called Why We Need to Get Comfortable Talking About Race at Work. And within those interviews, I talked to BAME leaders across different industries to find out what their successes were, and in particular what their barriers were and how they overcome it. So I designed my coaching program around many of the different themes that came out, and it was primarily about confidence and visibility and having resilience. And so the program that I designed was around that. But I also offer the Be Visible, Be Confident coaching program as a masterclass, as webinars, sections, etc., etc. So that's what I've been doing, and that's me.
Oh, fantastic. Thank you for sharing. I have listened to your podcast, and it is very, it can be very eye-opening in many senses, but at the same time, it has so many transferable insights that everyone can benefit from. I really like the fact that you said that you had your own challenges and your own experience, but you were wondering if that was the same for other people. So I can kind of relate to it by being Polish. Some people are sometimes surprised that I'm different to other Polish people, and I know that there are in a funny way. But it is a good point. But you've mentioned the themes. The confidence and visibility. Do you mind just bringing some light into what are those challenges? Why confidence and visibility?
Okay, I think, having spoken to many, I know from my own experience, it's about the confidence thing comes from not believing in yourself as a person and as a human being. And I think a lot of the barriers for BAME or people of minority ethnic origins is that it comes a lot from our culture. I think there's this thing around when you're small that sometimes you are told that when you're an adult, you're very special and you have to look up to people and respect people. And as a child and as a little human being, whatever the adult says is the truth. In terms of whether you're a person of color, I think that even goes even deeper when you look at colonial history and the history of slavery. There's a lot of things that happened in the past that have been transferred through generations and become part of that legacy. So parents, there's a racial socialization where you are taught as a child that when you go to school, that you might come across people who see you differently because of the color of your skin, for example, or because you talk with an accent, because you look differently. And so you have to deal with bias, and whether it's conscious or otherwise, you have to deal with people being very horrible to you. And part of your training as a child is how to deal with discrimination and bias, as well as being yourself when you're out and about and mixing with other people. And so when you come from that point in your childhood, it sets you up not necessarily for success, because although as I know from my own background, my mum being Black Caribbean, is that, you know, we're taught to be proud of where we come from, but at the same time we have to fit in, we have to be like the others within this new place that we've been brought in to live. And although some people might not see the beauty in our color or the beauty in our culture, we have to also be able to fit in, but also be our authentic self all at the same time. At the age of 5, you find out you are different. And if your parents doesn't set you up for that, you go in and into school, and the first day you go in there and somebody might call you a monkey, and you're just like, what is going on? What do you mean I'm a monkey? You know, as a young child, that's not a very nice experience, because you just understand why you are different. And then also because you're from an ethnic minority, if you come from parents who come into the UK from another country, you have to find a way to fit in and adapt. And you often find that the work that people do, they're in lower paid jobs.
Yeah.
You find that you are not from middle class backgrounds, you are from the poorest socioeconomic parts of the country, and as a result you again are different. So there's lots of different combinations there. So when you have that, it does sometimes make it difficult as you grow up. But what you have to do is, if you don't believe in yourself and you don't have that confidence, then somebody else, unless that somebody else mentors you, or is an advocate for you, or tells you you're great at something, unless your parents is from that era where they share their love, they share that you're good enough to be anything you want to be, then that's something you have to find from the outside and in the working life. And very often that is a barrier. So it stops people from putting their hands up when they should be putting their hands up for projects and for personal development. It means that sometimes, even though you're in a role that you deserve to be in, you second guess, actually, are you good enough? Are you good enough to be there? Particularly if you don't have other peers who look like you.
Yeah.
It becomes a constant battle.
It sounds like from the very early days and years, you can't take so many things for granted, and you have to ask yourself questions or observe the world around you in a quite more aware way, actually, isn't it? So
yeah,
because for some people it may say, yeah, okay, I understand that, but it's 2020, we all are diverse. Colonization was so many years ago, it's not relevant anymore, because for those who don't have that experience. But it's not like that, is it?
No, it's not. And the reason it's not is because not only has it come through from the generation, but very often your parents have come from another background. And where, for example, there's a report, a BBC report, which showed 2 examples of 2 Russell Group university students. One was of BAME background and one was white middle class background. And I believe that the person who was non-BAME had a lower result. So I think it was a 2-1, and the BAME person had a first-class degree when they came out of this Russell Group University. A year later, the person who was of Asian origin, he's still looking for work. He can't get work. And the reason he can't get work is when they followed his journey is that he really struggles in interviews and assessments because he lacks that confidence that he needs to engage with people in a way that shares his talent, that shares his enthusiasm. Whereas the person who's from a white middle class background, who's been brought up with all the love, the confidence, and the expectation of being successful, goes in, and although he's got a 2-1 degree, he gets an internship because he's great at connecting, he's great at being visible, he's great at just having open and honest conversations with people, because he doesn't have that barrier that people look at you, see you've got a different skin color, and think, are you ready for this job? Can you do this job? Will you fit in? And all of those questions. That individual doesn't have that barrier, whereas young people of BAME origin very often have, not only do they have the skills and experience, but they struggle with that confidence to share that. And so it does make a difference for a lot of people. I'm not saying it does for all BAME people, or all BAME students, but for a large number of, unless you prepare young people for that experience, then it can be really, really hard.
It's like, as being a parent and as being a parent, I'm just thinking how much you want to protect your child, how much you want them to grow and have all the best they deserve in the world, and then the challenges they may be facing, and you have to be preparing from the early year and balancing all that. So it's a lot.
With being positive, because at the end of the day, regardless of what your skin color is, the belief part in yourself is so important. It doesn't matter what background you come from, unless you believe in yourself as a person and love yourself, then it's going to be difficult for other people to love and appreciate you as you are. So you have to find that from somewhere, and if you don't get it from your parents and your peers, you have to find that from somewhere in order for you to be successful and to reach your full potential. But obviously there needs to be support out there for individuals who struggle with that.
So I think it's a good time to start doing the exercise we thought of doing.
Okay.
I thought it would be really good if we did a little bit of a role play where I would perhaps be a line manager of someone from BAME background, and you being my coach, so you can help me having those conversations, opening the eyes and supporting or growing or whatever it should be. Probably we'll get there through the conversation.
Yeah, sure.
Shall we?
Because just to put it into context though, I mean, I think we've talked a lot about BAME within organizations struggling with barriers and career progression, and development is a great piece, but the other side of it is making sure you've got a culture that's inclusive, so that you can develop with people as much as you like. But if your culture in your organization doesn't accept that person's color, their skin, their culture, their background, and people who they are, whether they're a female, whether they've got disability, all of the other characteristics, unless you've got that inclusive culture for people to feel welcome and that they belong, then it doesn't matter. So that's why it's really important a role as a leader in being that inclusive, showing that inclusive leadership.
I couldn't agree more. It's such a good and important point, and I'm hoping this role play will help some of the leaders who I know there are many of them who want to do the right thing, but maybe sometimes they overthink it or are worried. So I'm going to try to channel those fears into the conversation. So see where it's going to take us to.
Okay, cool.
So for the context, I am a line manager. I'm obviously pretending to be a line manager with 6 months experience. Okay, let's start it.
Hello, Anna.
Hello, Louisa.
So tell me, what are your challenges, your critical challenges that you need resolving today?
So I am a manager with 6 months experience. I really want to do well. I have a team of 3. One of them is from the BAME background. And I know, obviously, I'm very aware of diversity and inclusion efforts. I've read some stats about the BAME progression, and I would like to help my colleague, but I really don't know how to start because I don't want to offend them. I don't know what's the right thing to say. So what should I do, really?
Okay. So what have you tried already, Anna?
I have to be honest, I haven't tried anything because I'm really worried that I'm going to say the wrong thing or that I'm going to offend them. I don't want to make it worse.
Okay, all right. So I think what the best thing to do is to try and keep it simple. So I think in terms of your first meeting, the idea is to prepare well. So you'll probably need to speak to HR around what your concerns might be around any BAME progression issues, what the policy is around development for specific people in different characteristics. But I think initially when you go into the meeting, it's about you being your authentic self as a leader,
okay,
and being curious and asking loads of questions, and also asking your BAME team member how they want you to approach this. What's the best way to get the best out of the relationship that you're going to have as a leader, as a line manager, as a mentor, etc. So asking them, first of all, introducing who you are as a person, what you love to do, how you like to work, how you communicate best, and asking the same questions about the individual. So and maybe ask them a little bit about their work history, what brought them to your team.
Yeah.
You probably already know that because somebody's done the interview process, but you probably know a little bit about them. So you could ask them specific questions about the roles and their skills. And then you might want to then talk about their development plan. But say to them that you're a little bit nervous about having the conversation with them. That's probably why it's a little while to have this initial conversation, because you have you just want to make sure that you do this the right way. You're not, you are going to ask you some questions and they might come across as dumb questions, but you hope not to offend, because you want to address the point that, that they may have different development challenges or aspirations to your other team members because of their origin in terms of their minority ethnicity. And then ask them, how can I be the best manager to you? What are the things that you want to develop within your career that I may be able to support you with? And then I think the key thing is to take notes and to listen to what that person then says. And then going back to how you might be able to address them if you were talking about the person's colour of their skin, for example. You might say, do you wish me to refer to you as a black person or a person of colour, or none of those? And then you wait for that and just say, you want to be able to have an open and transparent conversation, but ideally what you want to do is get the best out of them. So it's really important for them to have a development plan, and then discuss with them what their aspirations are in terms of the role and moving forward, and where they may have development needs, etc.
Okay, so it sounds like it may be just a development conversation rather than anything more specific. Can I ask them if can I be very direct in the sense of, are there any challenges you're experiencing because of your background or because of your race?
I think you could cover that off in the conversation around the roles that they've previously done. Have there been any challenges that they've come across and they feel that might be related to their race? In terms of the role now, you talk to them about the ethos of your team, the fact that you want to make sure everybody feels included and that they belong in your team. And are there any things that you need to look out for, or any questions that they have that need to be answered in terms of that? So then it makes them feel more comfortable.
It's like a bigger context. It's not directed at them.
Yeah, because then it makes them feel that actually you're having the same conversation with all of their non-BAME colleagues, as opposed to targeting them because of the color of their skin. So it's just about making them feel comfortable, but you also being vulnerable in that you are not sure exactly how you should do this, and you're asking for their feedback.
Okay. Do you think it is the right thing to do? Meaning, should I be even starting those conversations if I can't see? I mean, I wouldn't say I don't see a problem, but I've noticed that they are not they are not always in the team setup as vocal as others are. So that's probably the biggest thing I've noticed. Is it because of the race, or is it because they are introvert? I don't know. I'm probably making assumptions.
Okay, so what is your gut feeling about that?
Good question. What is my gut feeling? Because with one-to-ones, they are way more open and more direct, with meaning that we are engaging in the conversations on the work, and they are more active. And I see the difference in the team setup, and they are the only one from BAME. So I wouldn't say that my gut feeling tells me they are not introvert. That may be something about the team setup or the dynamic of the team meetings that may be a clue for me.
So from that observation, I would say probably because the team is quite young still as a team.
Yes.
And it could be that individual just needs to get to know the other people and to build that trust and that relationship with them, because there are many reports that say that people of color do find it difficult to open up and be their authentic self at work. So whereas somebody might come in and, who's of non-BAME origin might come in and say, this is what I did at the weekend, this is what, where I went, I did football or whatever it might be. Somebody of BAME origin may not want to talk about this, where they went at the weekend. They might, and what they did, because they don't want to be judged by people, and they might find it difficult to open up. So that is something that is, has been reported, that people find it difficult. I think that's the same for people who are LGBTQ, and, people who, they don't want to necessarily bring their whole background to work until they feel that they're in an environment where they're psychologically safe to do so. And so, so it's about, first of all, because your team's quite young, it's about building that trust and getting to know people. And so it might be an idea that when you do your after work, get-togethers, that might be an opportunity for that person to open up. But in the work setting, they may feel that they need to be a different person in the work setting to the one that they're outside of work. And it's about how important is that in terms of their performance. And if, for example, in a meeting that person is not contributing in the way that you feel they should be, then it's giving them the constructive feedback to support why it's important for them to be able to do that. And if there is a barrier, it's using your coaching skills to identify why they feel that they're unable to do that. So but also sharing with them why it's important to do that, because there is this thing around visibility as well, if you're not visible within a corporate environment, then it's difficult for people to identify where your true skills, your true strengths. So you do need to be able to shine, and that's what you're trying to get across to the individual. It's important for them to shine within their role, and you want them to be the best person that they can be, so that you can support their growth. So they need to put some of that work in. So even though they might not want to share too much of themselves, it's really important that when you're building your team, that people feel comfortable enough to do that. And if there is an issue around that, so it could be that, if it's, for example, you've got, if that person in your team is a woman and the rest of your team are male, that might also be a reason why that person's not engaging. So it's understanding what the barriers are.
Okay, so I'm guessing I could just use that example, describe what I've noticed, and ask them what they think about it, what they feel about it.
How do they feel about that? So one thing you could do is explain to them that it's really the reason why it's really important for them to contribute to the best of their ability within these meetings, is that it's important for them to shine and share their skills and share their strengths. Because, for example, if somebody from another team is looking for somebody from your team to present, you need to be able to feel confident and comfortable that that person is ready for it, can do it, and, you know, has the ability to shine. So what you want to do is bring out the best in that person. And in your team, what you want people to be able to do is feel safe to fail, say the wrong thing, be comfortable enough to do that, so that, you know, they fail within that small, safe environment, and so that they can grow and go out and be the person that they can be. So it's about making that person feel really that they belong, part of your team, and that you're the leader that's going to take them to the next level in their career.
Great. And on that note of feeling safe to say something wrong, is there anything I could do wrong? Is there any no question or anything that I should never be asking, or the way?
I think it depends on the individual. I think your role as a leader is really to get to know that person, so that you understand what will be the right thing to say in whatever situation it might be. But being curious enough to ask the questions, and caring enough to ask the questions. But yeah, being your authentic self as a leader is the most important thing, and asking those questions.
Great. I think I can picture that, because we can chat. We can have normal conversations. So I think I feel way more at ease that I could do it in the first place by just opening. Basically, what you are saying, if I understand incorrect, is just put it over to them, because they know what they need better than anybody else. They are experts in themselves.
Yeah.
So
what you have to do is set the scene so that they feel comfortable enough to be able to share with you, you know, what their deepest fears are, what are their barriers, how uncomfortable a conversation might make them feel. So you have to set the scene around who you are as a person, as a leader, what you hope to get out of the team, etc., to make that person feel, okay, so you've opened up to me. You know, even if you share things that, you know, that your experiences where you felt where you have felt uncomfortable, or you have a fear or something, even if you share that with that person, it allows them to then be open with you in the same way.
Perfect. Is there anything you think I should ask you?
Anything you should ask me?
Yeah, anything that I didn't ask you, or if anything you think I should know?
I don't know, really.
Maybe I've asked you the right questions, so that's a good sign. I mean, I feel more comfortable now, so I feel like even if I didn't ask you, and even if you think about this magic question tomorrow, I think I'm way more comfortable now having that chat, and let myself be led by the people I'm working with in that aspect. And if I understood that correctly, if I can put the bigger context, what I'm trying to achieve as a leader, what I'm trying to achieve with the team, what I care about, what my values are, that's going to be a safer way of doing it for everyone, including myself.
Yeah. I suppose it's just about being human at the end of the day.
I know. It's perfect. So I think that was a very good exercise. Thank you. We've mentioned something about in the role play about advocating and finding. Maybe I'm just reading into it, but like platforms and ways for the employees to be more visible in the wider context of the organization. Do you have like any experiences or any good tips for that? Maybe something around networking. I know you've mentioned networking with me beforehand.
Yeah. It's one of the modules that doing the coaching program is around, you know, having effective, powerful networks. And so it's about somebody assessing actually who have I got in my network that's actually for me, who can support me, who can support my career, and also people that you might be able to support and help as well. So it's a two-way situation in terms of networking. So it's maybe assessing that, and the people that you don't need to be connected with, you just take them off your networking list and you focus on the people that can help you through your career. So you need to understand first of all where it is you want to go, what industry you want to work in, what roles your ideal role is in the next 5 years, etc., and to build your career plan. And I think it's important within that career plan to build your network of mentors or people who you look up to. So for example, I'm a coach, so I should have a coach that, you know, helps me with my development.
Yeah.
And in the same way, if you're hoping to be, you know, a head of finance, who are the people who are doing those roles right now in the way that you see yourself, connecting with those people? Which organizations share the same sort of values that you have, that you want to work for? Identify people within that organization that you can start connecting with, not when you're ready to look for a job, but years ahead, so that you can build those conversations up. So it's really important to start building those networks, not when you need them,
yes,
but you know,
thinking
when you have
ahead.
Thinking ahead, building those relationships, so that when it comes to the point when you want to move on in your career, you can either approach that person and say, I'm looking for a mentor right now. I admire you because of this, this, and this. It'd be great if you have some time to fit me in your diary. Maybe we can have a quick coffee. And I appreciate that you're really busy right now and you may not be able to mentor anybody because you've got other people that you're mentoring. But it'd be great just to have an initial conversation with you to see if there's any advice that you can give me on this.
Okay.
So, you know, it's, as a person, one looking out and reaching out to other people. In terms of sponsorship within your own organization, it's important to possibly through your line manager to connect with people within the organization. So talk to your line manager in your development plan about the types of people that you want to connect with and the reasons why. And so if your line manager can support you with making those connections, then that's a boost. Or you can approach that person directly yourself. But it's then maybe just making it an informal conversation to start with, again, asking for a coffee, talking about what roles you're doing right now, what projects you're working on, what your skills are, what your strengths are, and then thinking through some really thoughtful questions that makes that person think, actually, this is a really great person to have on my team, or, you know, I'd be happy to meet this person. So it's about how you can build that network to support you. I think the other thing also is to think about your personal brand. So what do people say about you when you're not in the room, kind of thing? That's really important as well.
How do I know that?
Pardon?
How do I know that what they say when I'm not in the room? I understand the concept. But
No, you don't, unless you're in two places at the same time. But what do you think people are saying about you? And sometimes you hear what people say about you.
I'm
they
fantastic.
Might be give to other people because somebody came up to you and said, oh, I heard this so-and-so talking about you the other day, and they said that you're really great at this, this, and this. And, you know, really honored to meet you. So this is the only way that you know what people are saying about you. But sometimes, instead of it, you know, sometimes, for example, instead of people saying, you know, she really knows what she wants, she's fair, they'll start saying things like, gosh, she's the angry black woman in the room. And you're just like, what? That's not me.
Never.
Or if you're a diversity and inclusion expert, they'll be like, okay, so, you know, sometimes people will say, because they know that you're in that field, they'll say, oh, you can't use that phrase in here. So
I know.
So so-and-so's in the room, you can't say things like that. It's a bit, you know, it's a bit not easy.
I can relate.
Yeah.
Great. So networking, being proactive, I'm guessing you're saying in between the lines as well with those things. Like, don't only rely on your manager if you are from BAME background, for example.
Yeah. I think it's really important if you're somebody who's wanting to progress and you are a BAME individual, that you look for external as well as internal networks to support that, particularly if you're struggling to make headway. So some people do struggle because the development opportunities aren't there for them, and they feel that it's for reasons of discrimination.
Yeah.
However, it's very subtle, and you can't really say for sure that's the reason. And there's two ways to think about it. There's two ways you can think about it. You can use it and say, well, actually, it's because of my ethnicity I'm not getting the role. Or you can say, I'm not bothered about that. I'm going to do whatever I can because it's what I'm going to do. And regardless of what color my skin is, I'm going to keep trying. I'm going to persist. I'm going to talk to the right people, do all the right things, and just keep going because this is my goal. Yeah.
It was in the podcast you shared with me, actually. I think that was the spirit through the podcast. I don't remember the name. I'm really sorry, but that was the podcast you shared with me when the person you were talking to had that spirit exactly. That I know what I want. I know I'm gonna have my hustle to go through. Maybe she didn't use the word hustle, but the challenges.
Yeah.
Those doors will be closed. I'm going to open them anyway. Not now.
Yeah.
I'm going to open them later. And you can choose that attitude yourself.
Yeah, you need to have that bounce back ability because things aren't going to go right all the time. So you just
Life
need to have
isn't
that.
easy.
A lot of it, a lot of it is to do with mindset. So one of the key modules in my coaching program is about the self-limiting beliefs that people have, and very often those come from an external, and some of it is from the inside. And so you have to work out which of those are actually the truth, which are the truth, or which of them are your story that you're using as a crutch to hold on to. And it's about flipping that story to a vision instead of a negative narrative about who you are, what you can and can't do. It's about turning that on its head and saying, this is where I need to be, this is what I'm going to do, and stuff everybody else.
Yeah, I think leading to I think I wanted to finish it with a story of my vulnerable story, as I call it, because I felt really bad. I think because I shared that with you before. But it really made me think of how much more work there is to be done in that space. And even though I'm definitely one of those naive ones that likes to think what is one place and we all equal. I know obviously it's not as easy. But I was once in a training. It was a 4-week. It was external training. It was nothing to do with the organizations I work for. It was 4 weeks training. Every week we would have 2 facilitators. They would change. But on the last meeting I came, I remember entering the room and there was one new facilitator. And I remember the feeling in me, this kind of physiological feeling like, oh, I'm disappointed. I didn't know why, but I had this feeling. And as we were going through the training, I realized I was disappointed with the facilitator a little bit. And then because of what I'm doing and what I'm believing in, I've just realized that a bias is kicking in because that was a man of color. So
okay.
So wow. I was like, oh my God, I realized I was biased. That sounds awful because I would never like to call myself this way, but I know that's what it was. And I thought to myself, no, we're not going that way. Let's stop and let's tune in. Let's listen to him and see if I'm dismissing what he's saying because he's talking rubbish, or is it my bias? And what I realized about that thoughtful process, that had to be very, very thoughtful process. I actually listened to him for that. I realized that one, of course, he wasn't talking rubbish. It was just me being biased, basically. But also, I've noticed that what he was doing, he wasn't. I think that links back to that confidence element. He was constantly looking at the other presenter, who was a white man, for reassurance. And I was thinking, and I was starting to count how many times was it like, if you keep doing that, you are sending signals to others that you're not confident in what you're saying. So how many people in this room are so conscious as I am? How many people are actually going through that thought process as I am? Obviously, we can't. And by the way, everybody in that room was white. He was the only.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So it's like, this is so tough because even picking up on those I know it's called micro messages. I bet he has been experiencing that through his life. The micro messages might be the face glimpse. It might have been a glimpse on my face when I saw him. That probably was the case. If I was disappointed, probably it was a glimpse on my face or something like that. And it's not even that. It goes even worse because at the end they split us into 2, and they were taking phone calls to follow up with us a week later to see if we made any progress. And the person in front of me, she said that actually she didn't want to have it with that black person. She said, obviously she didn't use the word, but she said, can I have it with that other person?
Yeah.
Just made an excuse for that, and you could see how uncomfortable he was. By the way, that the white guy was uncomfortable as well. Anyway, they've decided that. And then I was the next person, and he was like, "Are you okay?" He even said, "Like, are you okay to have it with me?" I was like, "Of course I'm fine," and of course it went well. But you could tell how, like, all those situations. I'm guessing that's not the first time something like that has happened to him, and it's so much harder. I just realized how much harder it is if you have to break this barrier from the moment you appear sometimes, and you have to have this confidence about you, because otherwise it's just like a vicious cycle sometimes, I think.
It is, yeah. So what was probably happening for that facilitator was that he had to step up, and he felt that he probably had to be better than his white colleague. However, when he noticed people's physiology in the room, that sent a vibration to him. And instead of him stepping up and saying, "I can do this," he kind of sort of sank back. And that came across in the way that he spoke, the fact that he was looking across to his colleague. And he could have been new at doing that role in any case. But because of his colour as well, it then meant that the people in the room weren't sure that actually what he was telling them was valid and needed to be validated by his colleague. But that had a knock-on effect in terms of that what he gave then wasn't acknowledged. So he probably put an awful lot into that training and preparation, but it wasn't validated because the people in the room didn't feel his confidence, and that didn't come across, even though he was probably very, very skilled at his job. But it must have been amazing for you to acknowledge it. And I think that's the most important thing, is that you acknowledge what was going on. But seeing it from that facilitator's point of view, you probably went home and thought, "Oh my God, that was a shit for me."
I was like, I'm definitely going to have this call with you next week.
And can you imagine having to do that every single day as a trainer, and having to deal with such a difficult topic when you're talking about diversity and inclusion and people's views and their feelings, and then feeling that you're not able to be your authentic self in the room, just to explain, because you're in a room full of people who are all different to you. It must have been really, really difficult.
A lot to do. All diversity and inclusion leaders, there's still more work for us to do. And because we're talking about those subtle things that many people don't really pay attention to, which makes it a little even more difficult.
It is. I think there is lots more work to do, but I think we have to have a vision of something better than where we are right now. And even though it seems really hard, seeing this, for some people, within organization, if you ask any of the senior team, the reason why they probably haven't got anybody of an ethnic minority in their boardroom is because they can't even visualize what that might look like. They can't visualize it. They can't see it. It's not tangible. So, it just doesn't happen. So unless you've got somebody who's got vision to make things happen, it won't happen. So there needs to be lots of people like us who have got that vision to create that difference that we need to see.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Louisa. Do you think there's anything else, any last word of encouragement for any BAME colleagues listening to us?
Any last words of encouragement? I think it is understanding your purpose and your vision and your focus for yourself in your work, whether it's your own business or whether you're within a working environment. It's understanding, first of all, what it is you want, where you see yourself, and then being determined and making a decision that you're going to get there sooner or later. So the time is now.
Time is now. Yeah. And I'm really sorry, I don't think I prepared you for that, but I sometimes forget about that. But I do like to ask people I interview, what's the superpower? What's
my superpower? What is my superpower?
I know.
My superpower, I think, is
I know.
My superpower.
What makes you unique, or what makes you special, or what you're proud of yourself?
I think I think I I think my superpower is probably being a role model for others.
Like it.
Yeah.
Like it.
Yeah.
I do like it. Did you have those moments when they would be telling you, because of you, I've done something, or?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I do. It's really rewarding when somebody says, you know, I really like what you said. I'm going to do this. It's really inspired me to do this, whatever it might be. And I think there isn't enough role models for our younger generation. They can't see people like them,
Yes.
and that's a real shame, because until that happens, their model of reality will continue to be as it is. So that's why it's really important to have role models, that people who are normal, not celebrities, who are normal human beings doing great work
Yeah.
in organizations and have powerful roles and are making impact in our world today.
Yeah.
Thank you so
Lovely.
much, Anna. Lovely to talk to you.
You too. Well, thank you very much for the listeners.
Yeah, thank you. See you later. Take care.
Thank you. Bye.